Hi, my name is Jeff Barker. I'm a part of an internal strategy team here at Home Depot. Myself and my colleagues Zara, Ken, Harish, and Bing are responsible for facilitating the leadership transition from Mr. Nardelli to Mr. Blake. That's kind of what we're going to be addressing here today. So I'm just going to go over the agenda. We're going to be doing some problem framing and problem stating. So there are obviously some issues that are currently ensnaring Home Depot. Then we're just going to do some gut checks on nature of demand, competition, and some general facts about the company. And then this group did a variety of analysis work. We did a PEST, a SWOT, and a 4P analysis. And then we're going to tee up what's unique about our current situation, sort of a breakdown as to why we have languishing stock, diminishing shareholder return, but we're still seeing gains in other areas. That's something Ken's going to talk to. And then we're going to go through a list of possible alternatives. Now, this was extensive scenario analysis we did. So each one of these alternatives we've vetted with a pro and a con and an impact, and we'll kind of break that down for you. And then after that, we're going to go through the actual solutions that we picked and what their implementation and delivery schedules are going to look like. And then obviously we want to make sure that we have mitigating plans, so there will be a slide discussing contingencies should one of our primary recommendations kind of fall through the cracks. So the first thing I'm going to touch on is obviously the problem statement. As we know, Mr. Nardelli was a fantastic leader, but there were some holes in his leadership, and we've been getting a lot of feedback with respect to company culture issues, customer service issues, and obviously that shareholder return that I mentioned in the first part of my speech. So I'm going to hand it off to Harish, and he's going to kind of knock out these first few slides for us.
So let me give you this situation. So you have that new books case that you want to create, or the new carpet that you want to install. So which is the place that you want to go to? Yeah, that's right, it's Home Depot. So we provide you the tools, the materials, and the furnishings, to build and improve your dream house. So currently we have two different verticals. The first one is our professional and wholesale vertical, and the second is our individual vertical. So we provide all of the tools, and the picture shows some of the services and products we offer. So this is the characteristics of some of our customers. So on the individual side, individual customers have high brand loyalty. It takes quite a long time for our individual customers to do a transaction on the floor. It's not seasonal. The market is considerably growing, and also most of these purchases are impulsive in nature, and whereas that comes in quite contrast to our professional and wholesale customers. Purchases here are generally medium to long term in nature. They're seasonal because construction does not go all the way all around the US always. Then there's always a value for the money that they're out looking for, between credit terms and the cost of goods sold. And finally, this is a very, very mature market in which we see, almost very little growth potential per se going forward in the future. So as going forward, I'm just showing you the market share split. Home Depot along with Lowe's currently control 35% of the market itself. Walmart and Sears bring the top four. I let my colleague Zara, introduce a comprehensive list of our competition.
Thank you, Harish. So our main competitor is Lowe's. However, we have other competitors like CCA Global Partners, Sears, and Walmart. And why our main competitor is Lowe's is because they are willing to innovate. They have a growing customer base. They've increased their product lines. They've introduced installations as well as welcoming presence for all of their customers. So those factors really differentiate Lowe's from the rest, and they are a reason for why Lowe's has been such a major competitor in the market. As far as our external landscape, we conducted a PEST analysis. We don't have any political factors affecting our business currently, so that's a good thing to note. However, as far as economic factors, we do have a declining, actually it's more cyclical, it goes up and down, but we see in general the housing market is declining, which presents a reason for why sales might go down in the future. We also have increased DIFM consumer culture, so do it for me culture, and an increased interest in rentals and tool installations. As far as social factors, the public generally has a negative view of executive leadership. There's also skepticism of what our company culture is like and how well we're performing in the customer service sector. And then technological factors, we are in the tech revolution. We have streamlined our processes in a number of ways, so we're kind of on board with that. But it's just something to keep in mind as we look to our alternatives and see what solutions work best for us. We also conducted a SWOT analysis. So we found that some of our strengths were that we have an increasing profit in sales. We have increased accountability with our management. We also have introduced new services like rental, installation, and self-checkouts, which increase the do-it-yourself vision that we want to promote. However, we also have weaknesses. Micromanagement is seen as a negative component. We have high employee turnover, and also our share price has remained stagnant. Opportunities include increased media coverage for home improvement, so we might have advertising and marketing opportunities in that area. We also see increased spending on repairs and installations, so that again is another opportunity. And our biggest threat, of course, is the declining housing market and our competitor Lowe's.
Thank you, Zara, for that great analysis, and all my other colleagues for kind of setting the stage. So, I'm sure now you're wondering, are we in a mature market? Are we in a growth market? What's going on here? So, I'm here to tell you, our company is in the mature phase. So, ever since our conception in 1979, we have had kind of an exponential growth, an explosion, if you will, till about 1998, where that growth kind of leveled off and became steady year over year. And so that's a pretty good sign of a mature market. And just kind of to point out how explosive we really were to begin with, we hit 30 billion in sales, 40 billion, 50 billion, 60 billion, and 70 billion as the youngest company ever to achieve that. So that's pretty cool. In terms of our market share, Harish kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. Around the 90s, we started really kind of having significant growth in that segment, kind of outcompeting some of the smaller mom and pop shops that were more local with our innovative business model. But as the market matured until about, 2004-ish with the 19.9%, we've had a more slow and consistent growth, which, as I said, another sign of a mature market. And finally, our competitors. There are no real new significant competitors in the field, with Lowe's being our number 2 rival pretty consistently. So now I'm going to take a look at the 4 P's of marketing. The first of which will be the product. We offer pretty much everything underneath the sun for your do-it-yourself home improvement projects. Everything from electric to plumbing to lumber, you name it, we probably got it for you. In terms of the price, we're very affordable and competitive with our kind of streamlined systems that Zara touched on a little bit, and the consolidation. We have a good brand recognition, as well as are able to secure large wholesale deals to keep our prices low. In terms of promotion, we offer a lot of in-store promotional events, as well as some more unique things such as customized merchandising. And then finally, the place. We operate in massive warehouse-style stores, and we were actually the first in the industry to kind of come up with that approach as well. And so what is unique about our situation? Despite this growth that we've been experiencing that I just touched on, our shareholder price is actually declining, which is rather odd. So from 2000 to 2007, our share price actually went down 13%. So now I'm going to be touching, or Jeff rather, will be touching on some of the alternatives that we've come up with to kind of address this problem and keep our positivity flowing.
Thanks, Ken. I really appreciate it. as I mentioned at the top of the presentation, these alternatives are the byproduct of an extensive scenario analysis. So we just want to kind of go through each one of the alternatives, sort of speak to it at a high level, and then Ken's going to come back here and actually kind of contextualize and articulate what our specific recommendations are. So the first alternative we considered was something we're calling a Return to Roots campaign. Obviously, our founders, Arthur Blank and Bernard Marcus, or Art and Bernie, as they're more affectionately known around these parts, sort of built Home Depot in 1979 as an organization that is customer-focused and employee-focused. I don't want to submit too much of an indictment against Mr. Nardelli, but over the last 6 or 7 years, I feel like we've kind of lost touch with some of those foundational principles. And so this alternative would have two specific initiatives, one tied to company culture and the other specifically tied to employees. So again, we'll get into that in a more nuanced fashion later, but that is alternative one. Alternative two involves hybrid purchasing. So for those of you that are familiar, for almost the balance of the organization up until the last 6 or 7 years, we did decentralized purchasing. So we had 9 regions and they had a lot of autonomy in sort of what they bought from suppliers and vendors. Now, I do have to credit Mr. Nardelli. The centralization did really help. We were able to strike national deals like that great deal we have with John Deere. But we have heard a lot of negative feedback from the field with respect to the fact that, hey, my product mix isn't reflective of my local customer base. I feel disengaged. I'm not able to respond to my local market. So what we'd like to do is blend the narratives and go with a hybrid plan. Now, obviously, that's not going to spin out of thin air. So sort of the guardrails we put around that are taking 20% of prior year cost of goods sold and then sort of dispersing that across all 9 regions. And sort of the way to enable that is a broad SAP rollout from an order management and enterprise resource planning perspective. And then we've had a corporate group come in and they sort of revised the SOPs with respect to the purchasing plan. That way at a national and a regional level, we're standardized and codified. And then the last piece would be sort of a cost control measure, which would be sort of a bottom-up RFP process where an individual store or an individual market would have to do a request for proposal and then submit it to a new region head. That way the budget is being sort of executed in a way that's right and in bounds. So that's alternative 2. Alternative 3 involves national expansion. Obviously, we've had a lot of success with Canada and Mexico, Chile, Puerto Rico. We're battlegrounding in China. So, internationally, we're doing a lot of great work. But this alternative would consider, hey, are there unserved or underserved markets here in the United States that we can target? Are there low population density areas? Are there areas that are amenable to small format stores? Are there suburban areas that we can confront? As we all know, Lowe's has been really aggressive with sort of contesting us in these urban markets where we were formerly uncontested. For lack of a better term, it's a turf war. So this alternative would kind of, be a direct, confrontation to that. Alternative 4 involves reduced analytics. Obviously, another credit to Mr. Nardelli. He did sort of bring us out of the tech dark ages and usher in what I would call a tech or data revolution. But again, submitting for that manager feedback, a lot of them are saying, hey, we're bombarded with all the data. We're bombarded with all the analytics. There's too many KPIs. There's too many this and that. The terminal velocity metric bogs me down. This thing that I have to keep track of, prevents me from being on the floor. It's a process check that my employees don't necessarily know how to action. So this alternative would involve scaling back and focusing that data and making it more palatable and actionable for the people that have to actually interact with it. Because again, if it's not something that's leverageable, then it's not usable. So that would be alternative 4. And alternative 5 involves extension of new services and products. Obviously, as we all know, Lowe's sells high-end appliances, and they also have several install services. We think we can not only beat them, but we can surpass them on both these fronts. We want to take that cost per transaction where they're beating us by $10. Right now they're at 58, we're at 48, and we want to, like I said, far and away surpass that. And we think that going into high-end home appliances and offering some installation services and other product diversification will enable us to do that. So these are the 5 alternatives that we considered. I'm going to hand it back off to Ken, and he's going to speak to the specifics as far as our recommendations go.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that. So as you mentioned, I'm going to be kind of taking a dive on what our solution is and kind of why we picked our alternatives that we did. So our 3-point winning plan here is first, launch the Return to Roots campaign. Second, transition to hybrid purchasing. And third, offer new products and product lines. So why did we pick these compared to some of the other ones? The first of which is we want to drive that shareholder return. So offering new product lines will hopefully allow us to better compete with some of our competition like Lowe's, and should increase sales and revenue to hopefully make that reflective in that stock price. The second which is to re-enchant workers. So we hope by offering hybrid purchasing, it'll kind of put the power back into the player. So by giving the managers a way to leverage their expertise and knowledge, that will allow them to better fit the local environment for what that store really needs. And the third of which is to improve customer satisfaction. Kind of going back to our roots with that campaign, we really wanted to focus on that customer satisfaction that the company was really started off with. So by providing more knowledgeable full-time staff, the customers can really get what they need from experts in that field. But not everything can be just all amazing. There are some limitations to this plan. The first of which is we're gonna have to reimagine the company again. So under Nardelli, kind of Home Depot took that more personal approach and almost turned it militaristic, if you will. So we're going to have to kind of retransition back to our core values. The profit margin may also decrease in the short term. So despite kind of laying off some of the part-time staff to make room for more of the full-time and knowledgeable staff, that still will be an expense up front, and that's more of an investment rather than a short-term profit solution. And new purchasing modeling. So this will require a lot of time, money, and change management for us. So this will not happen overnight and will be very difficult. So kind of why some of the other alternatives were not chosen. The first of which is national expansion. That did not really cover any of the customer service problems that we were facing, and also could maybe take some time to implement to be profitable, and we thought some resources allocated to other ideas might be better. And the second of which would be reduced analytics. We really want to get out as much information on the sales floor as possible to really be able to get tailored solutions for our problems. So now my colleague Bing is going to be kind of touching on how to implement some of these solutions that we brought forward.
Thank you very much, Ken. Now that you've heard the recommendations from my colleague Ken, let me take you through our implementation timeline as well as budget. So right after this meeting, pretty much as we speak, Mr. Blake, our new CEO, will be issuing an internal memo to all of our employees and communicate these changes to them. The Back to Our Roots campaign is the first and foremost important thing on our agenda, and we wanted to make sure that we waste no time on that. And similarly, at the same time, we're going to be winding down the HGTV as well as negotiating a new compensation package for our executives. And for that, we're going to be tying the executive compensation to the share price. Next, we're going to be reorganizing some of the executive positions as well as doing some one-on-ones with store managers. It's very important for the high-level managers to communicate within each other, make sure that they understand the changes that are happening within the organization. And this, we want to give them plenty of time, so it will take about 6 months, and we should complete them by the end of Q2. We will also have to unfortunately lay off some of the part-time workers to make room for our next step, which is hiring more full-time staff that are more knowledgeable about home improvements. And at the same time, we will be training the existing workforce and bring them up to speed. So these two things will take place simultaneously, going from Q2 to Q3 in 2007. And last but not least, to bring this project to new heights and also a perfect ending would be us working on a advertising campaign that's titled "We Are Back." People want the old Home Depot back, and we heard them. So we are going to design a campaign starting in October of this year and take our time, make sure that we really deliver what the message to our customers that we are back. And to put this to the top, we're going to be airing this ad campaign during the Super Bowl commercial time. We have luckily secured a spot on that. And this will reach out to millions of Americans and deliver that message to them. So second phase of our plan we have would be going to tackle the hybrid purchasing model. First, we're going to be decommissioning some of the decommissioning our old system, which will take about 3 months. And after that, we're going to be educate our users. And we definitely want to spend our time here, make sure everyone is on board. So this will take about 8 months. And after that, around the same time, we're going to be doing a lot of background research as well as validation. So that would take part kind of in the same time range with the other two things. And the whole thing will take about just under a year, and with the last piece being introduction piece. So we'll introduce our new system in March of next year, and we're going to be focusing on user adoption. Last but not least, we'll be introducing new products and services to our customers, and we're very excited about this piece of the plan. To do that, we're going to start with 1 month focusing on market research only, because you are not going to be successful implementing new products and services without a thorough marketing research. With that marketing research being our backup, we're going to start negotiating outside contractors and also negotiating new vendors for appliances. These relationships are going to take time to develop, and we want to make sure it will be mutually beneficial for all of us, and we want to make sure that this will be good for Home Depot's long-term growth. So we'll take about 6 months again to negotiate these relationships, and hopefully everything will be said and done by February of next year. After that, we're ready to hire and train some new employees, as well reorganizing our stores and make sure the new layout can showcase our new product and services. And that should take about 3 months in Q2 of 2008. And again, last but not least, we want to close it off with the advertising campaign. And this campaign is going to be specifically focused on wealthy women buyers as well as baby boomers. And that would be the end of, that will happen in June of 2008. We believe our recommendations will work, and our implementation plans are thoroughly planned. However, we do understand things can happen, so we have some plan Bs in place. First, our plan B would be to get rid of our HD supply business. And second would be to increase rewards for employees that meet and exceed customer service goals. And besides that, we're also thinking about selling off some of the company transportation assets, as well as outsource some of the transportation activities to third parties. And last option we have would be to expand to international market, saying that we have had really good success in markets such as Mexico and Canada. So to summarize our presentation, we at Home Depot have heard our customer. They want the old Home Depot back. When our founders found the company, they were all about customer service. As a matter of fact, customer service was the only thing that they care about. So what disappoints us the most is when we disappoint our customers, and we say no more to that. So go back to our roots campaign is very important step for us to do that, and we can't wait to start on that. Along with hybrid purchasing system, also offering new product and services, we believe this will bring Home Depot to new heights. And at our next shareholder meeting here, we are confident that our share price will be soaring and we will be meeting and exceeding customer goals. So with that, I open the floor to questions, and thank you so much for coming today.